Starting. Hey, everybody, this is James Sauer.
This is Bill Woodcock, and this is yet another edition of Do It Live.
Do It Live, live on location today at an undisclosed WholeFoods.
That happens to be located in the new American city of Columbia, Maryland. So if you have any problem with us, you have 27 minutes to come over and try to kick our ass. I guarantee you will lose.
Yeah, Bill or I could just sit on you probably.
Second Amendment, baby. So
you're gonna finger bang them?
What's
You're
that?
gonna finger bang them?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm going to show them my superpower is my double jointed.
Oh, that's gross. Don't do that.
Oh,
Stop that. No, God, stop doing that.
So while we're on the subject of superpowers, we shall now talk about our beloved 45th President of the United States, who has the superpower to anger the world. So, Jamie, in case you didn't realize, Jerusalem is now the capital of Israel, and the U.S. Embassy is going to be moved to Jerusalem in the semi-foreseen future. Has a party of pedophiles and drunken vodka-soaked tater tots named Steve Bannon finally gone one step too far. And how hard actually is Donald from trying to bring us to Armageddon? Not just war with Korea, but our proximity towards the biblical home of Armageddon itself in the Mideast.
I gotta say, I think there's something seriously wrong with all this. There's a problem. I mean, this is nothing more than enticing a bunch of angry people to do a bunch of stupid things that we really don't want them to do, and I don't know why. When all you do is sit here and complain about a group of people, in this case, you know, Muslims, you go out there and intentionally bait them. It's like hanging red meat in front of a dog. And this is not going to go well for anyone. The one thing it does do is it makes a bunch of people, evangelicals, happy, and nobody actually cares what their opinion is, because all we found out right now is that, they're also in addition to being the party of pedophiles, it turns out the evangelicals supporting Romar also shows they might just be the religion of pedophiles too.
Well, there certainly are a lot of pedophiles in the Republican Party, and to anybody out there in Futurland, by the way, less than 24 minutes, if you are a Republican, you support pedophilia. That's who you are right now. So you can thank your president and your Senate candidate from Alabama for that. But I could not agree more. There is just a tone of insanity and denial. The stuff of Hollywood. We are watching the leader of the free world become unglued before our eyes. I happen to have watched the speech today where Trump made mention of Jerusalem being the capital and moving the embassy. If anybody else picked it up, but he was slurring his words like this. He was talking about Israel. He was either doing the world's worst Sean Connery impersonation, or he was slurring the speech. And I'm not sure why it is. There is talk about the immense amount of weight he has gained since the election and since the inauguration. Look at him today. His face was fatter. His eyes were almost slits. And not for nothing, but, Trump has been, over the decades, a fairly stylish man. I'm not saying he's a handsome man, but I'm saying that, he has at least kept himself well. And this is a 71-year-old man. I'm really concerned at this point for above and beyond the policy of this country. I'm really concerned for the mental and physical state of this man. I just hope that should anything bad happen, which I certainly don't hope happens to the president, that he just, that of being affected is himself and not anyone else.
Wow, that's a lot there to chew on, as you often do. Now, I do want to go back to something, though, back to the very beginning of what you said. And I said, I pointed out the Republican Party has become the party of pedophilia. And I just, because that's an important point here, we need to say this is not for supporting, what is this guy, Roy Moore? You know, that I understand he absolutely has a right to and people have a right to believe or not believe what they want about this until such time as we know more. But I will say that there have been many people in the Republican Party who come out and said it doesn't matter, or they're going to vote for him anyway, even if it is true. And that's the long rope in this story. I think we need to make sure that we're very clear about where people are making mistakes and what they're doing wrong. This is a systemic filth, you know, upon the party, upon the South, and upon this country.
I would not expect the president to endorse Jones, the Democrat. I would not expect that at all. But to see the
Jeff Flake did.
You know, he sent him $100 check, so I'm not exactly sure that constitutes an endorsement. A good thing that he did. But what I would expect would be a continuation of how this started out. I mean, I even thought that the worst that Trump would be what he originally did, which was to say nothing. That's all that would have been. But to come out and say, we need somebody who is a vote, and we don't need a quote-unquote liberal Democrat, which Doug Jones is not, is simply ridiculous. And to come out and say, you know, a man in there who it's very possible could be thrown out by the Senate Ethics Committee as soon as he's seated, should he win, is ridiculous. And let me switch gears a little bit as to the Senate Ethics Committee, because there's something going on very interesting with Democrats. And that is this letter and these calls by Democrats today for Al Franken to quit. Now, Jamie, correct if I'm wrong. I'm going to give you this hypothesis, and let's find out what you think about that. I think this is strategy. I think that Franken has already agreed to fall on the sword. He's going to quit tomorrow at pulpit to give one more speech about, and the theme of it, or a theme of this is going to be that he's doing what Roy Moore should do, which is leave public life, take care of his private issues, and then, you know, those are solved, then consider being involved in the public sphere. Because I think that where Democrats are going with this are to take the moral high ground, where they belong, in the mud pile. Your thoughts?
You know, I think that there's a good chance you're right about that. I think that there's a distinct possibility that no, I never mind. I think you're right. I was trying to work through another option on this, but it doesn't exist. I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. Time will tell tomorrow. I mean, we don't actually know for certain that Franken's resigning. We won't know that until we see, you know, the second news flash come across our screens. But right now, this is the dominant story, and I don't see that changing between now and tomorrow at noon. Now, when he comes out, depending on what statement he makes, we could have a lot of different purposes here. Now, I think that there are some interesting issues that come out of this, which is, you know, you pointed out the fact that the Senate could just kick him out immediately. They could even refuse to seat him, accept his election, although that is in itself politically dicey. You know, from a constitutional perspective, I would have to say they're probably better off seating him and then immediately kicking him out, rather than just refusing to seat him. Now, at the same time, I think, you know, that's advantageous because, boom, you have a Republican governor, I mean, probably Luther Strange, back to the seat, and you know, there's a net zero change there. If he backs out now, then what's his name? thank you, Doug Jones, almost certainly wins. And I think that that's a where, so that now you have to think is, I'm a Republican voter. What's my strategy in this? Do I go, and even if I don't think it's a good idea to support this guy, do I vote for him anyway so that scenario can play out? I think that I would not expect to see the Senate kick him out, though, because I just think that the Senate has shown, the Republicans especially in the Senate have shown again and again and again, that for them it's bloodlust for control over, or even over party. We keep saying it, they keep talking about party over country. This is bloodlust for control even over party, let alone country or humanity. So I just don't see them doing it. It's too much of a risk to their own reputations. And let's face it, they've only talked about 2 people right now currently on Capitol Hill. There are going to be more. There are going to be a lot more as time goes on. And I think that comes the there, but for the grace of God go I, because they've all had their fingers where they shouldn't have been.
Unfortunately, I can't help but agree. And doesn't it seem all the more ridiculous now, the president's tweets last week about Time called to ask me to do a photo shoot about the person of the year, to go take their person of the year and stick it because I don't have time for Time magazine. And who has Time magazine named its person of the year this year? The Me Too movement. And all the women who are coming forth nationwide over sexual harassment. Ooh, how fitting that is.
I just assumed that was a prank call from the Howard Stern show.
It was not Stuttering John. He has overcome his stuttering problems. He was Jay Leno's announcer for many years, but no, it was not Ponce de Lafone or any of the regular callers. It was actually the president, unfortunately. So Pete, question.
No. I mean, it was the Howard Stern show calling Trump.
Telling him that he was person of the year.
Yes.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Except Trump's been on Howard Stern a few times. So
Howard Stern's taken on people who've been on the show before, and especially because this is such ripe fruit. I emphasize the ripeness and fruitiness.
Nothing was better than when Stuttering John asked Ted Williams how many times he farted in the catcher's face.
Oh, okay. I don't know what to say about that.
But away from farting and back to groping. So. Oh,
we all got
we all have hobbies.
We all have to have hobbies. That is my motto, as you know.
So we are 11 months away from the 2018 midterm elections, and as we have painted these past 15 minutes. I'm running for 4th District County Council in Howard County, Maryland.
I hear that's an easy seat to win these days.
Well, that's the rumor.
You live in the 4th District?
Details. So there are state and local elections as well as congressional elections in 2018. And as we've said for these last 15 minutes, the Republican brand looks bad. We have, for those of you who are watching us from out of state, we have a certain strain of republicanism that likes to brand itself as moderate, conservative things, but they brand themselves as moderate, both in the state and also in certain jurisdictions in local Maryland. How do these so-called, here I go again, moderate Republicans avoid the stain on nationally, or can they?
I think that there's a big question with regard to how they. I've taken out my earpiece. My life is so much better because the microphone is still up here. I think that there's a very good point to be made here about where the long-term future of the Republican Party is at the national level, and them using this kind of local thing as the microcosm, because ultimately it's these local seats and local office holders who are going to continue trickling up. I mean, that's true in both parties. Because, except in a few cases, nobody just comes out of nowhere and decides to run for president without having an elected office before. And that hasn't worked out too hot when it did happen. But I think that there's I think that there are a lot of people. If we were to talk about other places where you see a moderate Republican Party, they're going to be just as terrible, and they just call themselves moderates, depending on how liberal the place is. I do not foresee that going forward it will be feasible for a lot of local Republican office holders in states like Maryland or New York or New Jersey or Massachusetts to continue on. I mean, they do exist, believe it or not. Maybe Nova, certainly California, Oregon, and Washington. The states that matter. So I think that there's and then what happens in flyover country is flyover country. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm not willing to make any hard and fast predictions because a year away is still 11 months is still 11 months away. And if there is anything to be learned, it's that it's not worth getting involved in some predictions here because we just don't know about shit's going to work out.
Well, Dr. Howard, I will make predictions, and in my typical John McLaughlin-like fashion, if you were a Republican elected official who was elected for the first time into your seat in 2014 or 2016, I would be quaking in my boots because what's going on the national level is going to stick to these people like glue. I would like to take a little bit of a time out to say that trending worldwide right now is hashtag do it live, also hashtag Baba Booey, also hashtag own a human skull, ? Based on some conversations that were going on earlier. And then in the pre-show, and just to mention, you too can be a subscriber to the Do It Live pre-show. All you have to go do is call 1-888-DOITLIVE exclamation point. Be sure, it's very important that you find the exclamation point on your phone. Give the operators are standing by, $49.95, and you will receive exclusive access to the pre-show. Thank you.
Where did that come from?
Where did what come from?
The free exclusive access to the pre-show.
Yes.
We don't have a 1-800 number.
Did I say 800 number? I thought I said 888.
We don't have a toll-free number. We don't have operators standing by.
We do have operators standing by. They're in Malaysia.
That's the first part of the story that made sense.
Anyway, carrying on. So one of the things that I'm very curious about is, as you can see from our background, we are right in the midst of the holiday season. You can see the holiday cheer all around both of us. So, James, we've already seen this month.
What are you talking about, Willis?
I'm talking about war. And what I'm talking about is the war on Christmas. So I would like to ask you at this point, how has the war on Christmas, either this year or in years gone by?
What war on Christmas?
The war on Christmas.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
About it for years. There's a war on Christmas. You can buy CDs with country music superstars who boldly and jauntily wish each other Merry Christmas, everybody. Because there's a war on Christmas. Apparently, it's not okay to say Merry Christmas. We're supposed to say Happy Holiday, or have a beneficial winter solstice, or may your late bring you cheer. Or for those who are chronically depressed, you know, just be good. War on Christmas.
Don't all holidays matter?
All holidays do matter, but yet Christmas is not your Arbor Day. Christmas is not your Independence Day. Christmas is not your DC taxation without representation day. It is Christmas, and there is a war on it. It's been in all the papers. People have fought and bled and gotten paper cuts.
I did post a picture today of
have trees in public places, in creches, creches, nativity scenes. It's a big deal. Are you saying you're not aware of this?
I posted a video today of 2 kids being shot at. In the war on Christmas.
By bullets?
Lasers. Lasers. They were just walking down the street, and Robo Santa started attacking them.
Robo Santa.
Robo Santa.
How can Santa be a robot, sir? Santa is the embodiment of Saint Nicholas. I said Saint Nicholas.
You gotta go read my Twitter feed, dude.
I don't know if it's Twitter of which you speak. What is a Robo Santa? Is it a Santa Claus that is indeed a robot?
Yes.
What manner of sorcery be this? Is this a challenge to the concept of the one true Santa who lives at the North Pole and has a relationship and he doesn't elves all happen to be male? Not that there's anything wrong with that. However you express yourself, if you're into the little person and you identify yourself that way, that's okay. But you're telling me that Santa Claus is a robot who shoots lasers at children.
Yes.
But Santa is the Christmas icon. Why would Santa himself, even a robo Santa? Because if Santa's a robot, Billy, he has to be programmed to be Santa.
Yes.
The robo Santa. But Santa loves Christmas. So you are.
It's a video I found from the war on Christmas where apparently Christmas was fighting back. I posted on Twitter and Facebook because I felt that it's important that we tell both sides of the story.
Christmas fights back.
Yes.
So were these children, were they Christians or were they some sort of evil?
I don't know. They were just suddenly attacked.
So these were children.
They weren't identified, and I haven't heard from the Dutch government what they were yet.
So these were children who were in some way appalled at Christmas.
I don't know. It's not made clear.
Or they could have been wishing to celebrate.
They could have been, but all I know is the Santa attacked.
Could this robotic Santa have been programmed by secular humanists who then wish ill on the Christian children and wish to shatter their Christmas dreams and their Christmas spirit and bring hellfire and brimstone upon them in the form of lasers?
That doesn't make any sense.
It absolutely does. If we're a war on Christmas, Dr. Howard, you would know that the easiest way to subvert the Christmas culture that exists in this country, because we are a racist, Judeo-Christian nation.
So I've heard.
So you better is for Christmas icons such as your Santa Claus to be perverted and to turn on the very creatures, the poor innocent children, if you will, who hold such Christmas icons dear.
But isn't Santa Claus itself a perversion of Christmas?
Absolutely.
Santa Claus was created by the Coca-Cola Company? That's not true. Santa Claus was created by the guy, the cartoonist.
He invented basketball.
Yeah, the cartoonist.
The cartoonist.
The cartoonist. No, before that. Like 100 years before that.
What cartoonist was 100
There's a
years
guy.
before Norman Rockwell?
He drew pictures and he created the model.
Who drew on the
After that.
Some Egyptian, Imhotep, perhaps.
Oh, we're getting closer. I mean, because we're going to talk about Christmas. It's very important we talk about Middle Eastern guys.
Middle Eastern gods.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody in that nativity scene was either Middle Eastern or African.
But Jesus was a white man.
No.
He was white. It was the picture that was on my grandmother's wall. Jesus is a white man with brown hair.
Really? I don't know many guys around Nazareth about 2,000 years ago who looked like that.
He was born in, well, of course he was white because he was born in the winter.
I don't think it works that way. I was born in the winter.
And you're white.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, but I'm still darker than most of those pictures of Jesus.
Are you mocking my? You have not even remotely answered my question on the war on Christmas. Are you providing? Are you offering mockery? I have you know, good sir, that in about 90 seconds there are going to be people here who are going to want to throttle liberal pukes with boards, 2x4s, 4x6s.
How do you throttle somebody with a 2x4?
Oh, you don't want to find out. I find your lack in the war on Christmas disturbing.
As you should.
But your
sad devotion to that ancient religion.
Well, on that note, we're on the bottom of the hour. That is a nice way to end up. So I hope that you have enjoyed, noble viewers, this live edition of Do It Live. This shall not be the last time, except if the hordes come in and fix their skulls 2x6.
I think that this has been a horrifying experience, and I can't wait for this video.
And so it shall. So until next time, I'm Bill Woodcock.
And I don't even want to say my name. I don't want to be associated with this recording.
Too late.
That much is certain. Bye-bye.
Bye.